You probably seen it. I've been doing this super tough. For me, it is. I felt like I was in over my head. This super tough dive on ZFS and TrueNAS, specifically TrueNAS, but they implement OpenZFS. And so I was kind of thinking about what I've been working on the last couple of weeks, and it was redoing my storage server and making my HL15 a first-class citizen, no longer virtualizing my TrueNAS server, and making it a hardware-based or bare metal-based TrueNAS server. Not that there's anything wrong with virtualizing, because I did it for about 5 years, but I decided to finally make it physical and go bare metal. And through that, I learned so many things that I had no idea what they were. You know, slog, ARC, L2 ARC, you name it, ZIL, and how some of these things fit together. And I will say that I am not the expert on this. This was just me trying to read diagrams, read white papers, study Tom Lawrence's videos, and try to come up with something that I thought was, you know, kind of a holistic approach on how you could squeeze a little bit more performance out of your stuff and hopefully explain some of these terms. I will be the first to say that I don't have it exactly right, you know, and I appreciate all of the comments on that video, because there's so many people who are really smart in storage. Remember, I'm a hack at best when it comes to storage. You know, I'm a software developer, done some infrastructure before, but this was me trying to really understand not just how ZFS works or how TrueNAS works, but really, you know, a practical guide on like, how do I speed up my network speeds, or how do I speed up, you know, reads and writes? And so I learned a ton, and I greatly appreciate all of the comments on that video. A lot of people were almost apologizing, saying, hey, I don't mean to nitpick, but, you know, you were wrong here, and here's the right way. I do not consider that nitpicking at all. I appreciate when people, especially in tech or anywhere, are deeply knowledgeable and aren't afraid to give feedback. And I greatly appreciate that if they're deeply knowledgeable and they actually pay attention to the details and know the details. I greatly appreciate that. So anyways, I wanted to get that out there. I never want anyone to feel like, hey, I'm going to contradict what Tim's saying. I better not write a comment. No, absolutely. I'd rather the information in the comments and the video be right than just me saying the wrong thing. So I appreciate it. And I wanted to just clear the air. Any of my videos, absolutely. If I say something wrong, correct me on it, because I want to be right. I don't want to go around saying the wrong thing and then everyone's saying like, hey, he's been saying the wrong thing for 6 months. So anyways, I just want to make that clear that I want the information to be right more than I want to be right. So anyways, it was a hard video for me. It felt like I was in over my head. So anyways, let's talk about what you're talking about. Let's dive in to the comments and pull them up. Going to be quiet for just 2 seconds. I just want to make sure the music in the background's not too loud. Sometimes I realize it's too loud where it's different in my ears. Okay, I think that's an acceptable level. So anyways, let's get into chat. Let's see what you're working on. A lot of comments. First up, whoa, hey, oh, happy Saturday. Oh, thank you. Oh, I gotta post this. I did a test and Undercurve TV. I love it. I love it. Trolling me right in the beginning. I love it. I never thought about doing that, but great. That is great. Hey, oh, happy Saturday from Modest Tim. How's it going, man? Good to see you, Modest Tim. Mike, working on moving my company to redundant internet connections with VMware SDWAN. Anybody work with that before? I personally haven't. I feel like that's like you mentioned, it's for your company. That's truly an enterprise feature, and I haven't worked on any enterprise features for VMware. I'm sure there are a lot of VMware people, experts in here, and definitely some VMware experts also in a Discord. I'm going to plug Discord every time I don't know the answer, because we have a Discord full of almost 10,000 people, full of people who know this stuff really well, and you know what? They might actually do it for a living. So I have nothing to contribute to this except for totally, you should check out a Discord. Let's see. Undercurve. I got login working on my panel. Docker panel thing I'm making right now, and it has EJS for the front end, Express for the back end, with a SQL 3 DB and Passport for the auth. Hey, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're making a Docker panel, like a GUI for Docker for managing containers. And the front end is EJS, back end is Express with Node, and SQLite DB. Hey, that sounds like awesome. And then Passport for auth. Hey, that sounds like you got a great system going And I'm glad you're thinking about it holistically too. I think that's going to be the theme here, is you're thinking about, hey, front end. You're thinking about back end. How does this front end communicate to the back end? Then I assume that back end communicates with Docker somehow. And then you're thinking, hey, how do I authenticate this thing? That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Sounds fun. Sounds fun. It sounds like you got some pretty decent architecture going on. I'm a huge fan of Node. I'm a huge fan of JavaScript. TypeScript, JavaScript, and front end and back end. So I know Go is super popular, but man, I like to, I don't know, keep the same tool belt, at least for things that don't need to split hairs on performance, or if you need parallel processing or concurrency, I guess I should say, because Node does not do that. Anyways, that's one of my tangents. What are you guys working on? Let's see. Valkyrin. Portainer DB Corrupted or something, trying to figure it out. What I need to roll back because I haven't checked in on months. Hey, that's good and bad, right? That is great when you can let a technology run for months and there's no care and feeding outside of updates and stuff like that. But hey, that's a testament to something that's pretty solid. But then, you only start to notice when things go wrong, like you noticed here that the database is corrupt. I don't have a good answer for this. I would say if you have backups, which you probably should, and I hope so, you would just roll back your backup to a good state the last time you saw that it was working. And I assume you're using a local volume for your Portainer stuff. You could roll it back that way. That's about as good as I got for Portainer. However you write to your volumes, hopefully you have that underlying file system backed up, and hopefully you can restore it. I hope you figure it out. If not, Portainer, depending on how many stacks or containers you have, Portainer is pretty easy to set up again. I know it's a pain in the butt to do it again. This is why I wish Portainer had a little bit better way to do GitOps, because if it were GitOps style, you could restore your configuration, right, and your UI would be configured. So yeah, that's tough. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Hey, Tim, trying out local voice with HA and ESP Home. I already linked it in your Discord. The little boxes came yesterday, so updates incoming in Discord. Hey, looking forward to this. I assume this is in the Smart Home channel. Really looking forward to this. I have a buddy who told me he did it and gave me some details about it. But he's off doing other things, so I wasn't gonna really ask him to break everything down. Bill, I know you will with pictures too. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about it. Things I'm excited about. 1, the hardware you use. 2, how compatible it is with Home Assistant. I'm sure they're the best of the breed. Good hardware, very compatible. And then the other thing I'm curious about is with local voices. How does what does the processing look like? Like, is it super demanding on your CPU? Do you have to use a GPU? I haven't looked into any of this, but I'm sure you'll break it down. But Bill, hey, looking forward to it. Good to see you. Good day. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Just Kaiser Sose. I'm struggling to get Nextcloud working with NGINX Proxy Manager, and recommendations or good resources out there that I can look at. This is tough. I would say, so there's 2 pieces, right? Getting Nextcloud just working, right? And then getting it behind your reverse proxy, which is NGINX Proxy Manager. If you're setting up both at the same time, I'm going to assume you are, but if you're setting up both at the same time, hey, make sure your NGINX Proxy Manager works first. And then 2, make sure Nextcloud works on its own, and when I say on its own, make sure you can get to the Nextcloud sign-in, make sure it's using self-signed certs or have it set up, and you can get in. Then if all of that works, it should be just piecing those 2 together. If you're still struggling with that, I would recommend setting up something super simple, NGINX Hello World page, right? And making sure that works in NGINX Proxy Manager or something that works, and then duplicate that for NGINX Proxy Manager. I assume that Nextcloud just uses web protocol, so HTTP. So it should be pretty straightforward. It's either going to be whatever the default port is that what's it called? Nextcloud uses. Should be 443, I think, but the self-signed cert. You should just be able to do that with NGINX Proxy Manager. I know I'm making it sound simple and you're having some problems, but and I know you're more than capable, so it must be confusing. If you still need help, definitely throw it in our containers channel and we could talk about it and figure out what's going on. But if you're new to setting up NGINX Proxy Manager and Nextcloud and you're trying to do it at the same time, separate the 2. Get one working and then try to get the other one working. I know that sounds pretty obvious and you've probably tried it, but I haven't used NGINX Proxy Manager in a long time, but it should be, I thought, straightforward. Maybe not. Modest Tim, hey, how's it going? Working on a public API for my TikTok notification Discord bot so others can integrate into their notification systems. That is awesome. So let me think about this. So you're building a public API for TikTok notifications Discord bot so others can integrate into the notification system. That is awesome. So when you get notified on TikTok of something, so-and-so has followed you, I think you have an API that can then grab that notification. I don't know if it's a push or a pull, whatever, and then push that into a Discord bot that you can add to your Discord channel that will probably repeat the same notification so you don't have to get notified twice or get notified on a better platform that you actually pay attention to, because TikTok notifications could be, whoa, depending on how popular some of your videos are. But hey, that is awesome. I don't know if this is something for Social Blade or not. Sounds like maybe not, but I know you work on that too. But sounds awesome, Tim. I hope you figured it out. I'm sure you will. You're definitely more than capable. Hey, Torquemada. Whoa, it's the weekend. That threw me off a little bit. So that was a sub message, and I'm clicking on a sub message. Hey, Crack Kitty, let's strobe these lights, because I'm going to click buttons until I don't have to click buttons anymore. So hey, Crack Kitty, dude, 26 months. So 1 year, 2 months. Let's go, man. Holy cow. That's like almost 2 years. Haha, yeah, it is, man. Oh, yeah, my math was way off. 2 years, 2 months. Man, my fourth grade math is slipping. But dude, thank you so much, Crack Kitty. I appreciate it. How's it going? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope everything's going good for you, man. Good to see you, though. Good to see you. Bill Mayer. So what's on the lab table to the left? It's still the same thing. It's still my 3-node. It's 3 1U super microservers that used to run here in my home lab that I'm preparing for the Colo. It's been evolving. I think they're just waiting on me now, and I think I'm gonna do it soon. I just kind of need to time it, because I'm making content about it, and if I'm going and racking and filming content, I need to make sure I have a good lead time onto where I can work on that content so that I don't have a huge gap in my content. So another strange thing about content creation is like you don't want a huge gap. So I'm already a couple of days out from my last one. I either got to rack it in the next couple of days, which I'm probably not, because I need to do a little more planning, or get one video out before then, so then I can go and rack it right away and then get it out. But anyways, yeah, that is going to be my private cloud. Private cloud, basically. I'm building a private cloud in a Colo, and so same things on there. I've been debating some of my hardware choices, but I feel like I could change my mind forever, and I kind of have to commit. So I'm at the point where I've committed to my hardware, committed to my layout, committed to everything. I even configured the network for it, and it's all ready to go except for physically taking it there and filming it. So yeah, it's coming. It's coming, man. Boo. Yeah, it's probably my volume. Writing some new Ansible playbooks. Yakto, how's it going? Yakto, holding down YWS. Writing some new Ansible playbooks for deploying my LXD container-based infrastructure. Awesome, man. That is awesome. I love LXC and D, but I love containerization stuff. That is awesome. You're going to be writing some Ansible playbooks to configure some of this. I definitely need to do that. That's kind of my hope. For my private cloud is to do more Terraform stuff with Proxmox, and I think Jim's Garage just released a great video on it. Great video. You should check it out. Something that I definitely want to do, and he created a video, so that is awesome too. So anyways, awesome. YWS is getting some Ansible automation. Can't wait to hear more about it. And also wondering what those LXD containers are doing for the infrastructure. Is it DNS, DHCP, or is it load balancers? I would love to hear more on how you use LXD for sure. Dude, that was, let's see, Merciless Demise. Thank you so much for the sub. New tier 1 sub. I got to flash the lights for that one. Oh man, if I'm into button pressing, I should just put this on my Stream Deck. But right now I'm clicking on this poorly designed web UI that I created. But hey, thank you so much. Thank you for the Prime sub. Really appreciate the support. Thank you. Happy Saturday. How's it going? Romeo Jr. Making sure I have a backup of everything this week in preparation for the arrival of my UDM Pro, USW 16PoE, and a rack. I'm going full nerd with it, boys. Yeah, you are. You are going full nerd with it. Dude, thank you so much for the follow real quick. Zilke, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Dude, Romeo Jr., yeah, that you're going full nerd, and you're going, I think you're leaning a little bit towards my nerd, I guess, at least with the hardware choices. But yeah, UDM Pro, I think is solid. USW 16 port PoE, solid too. And then ASRock, always a good choice. Well, hey, I hope you get it soon. I hope it's everything you want it to be, because there are some definitely a lot of good features on it, and I think it's awesome. Hey, real quick, thank you, Wendraker. Thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Benkos 2018. I need to either make or set up something like that someday. Oh, I think with your network rack, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I hope. All right, gotta get through all these audio things. Yeah, I agree. When in doubt, it's always audio or DNS. That is right. For me, lately, it is audio. The real kicker was I had everything working and I tested, and then as soon as I unmute the mic, the whole Wave XLR thing just goes away and mutes something random. So I don't know. It's kind of driving me nuts lately, and I'm sure it's macOS plus Wave XLR. It's not just Wave XLR, because a lot of people use Wave XLR on Windows and they love it. And I'm kind of on the other side of love it right now, because and it's probably has to do with Mac. Anyways, let's get back to tech or other tech. Cyber Knight, have we switched to MS Teams? Yeah, with my audio. Oh, I got it. I thought this was a tech question, but I get it. That used to be the thing always on Skype or whatever link. Oh man, it was always the first question. Can you guys hear me? I think COVID helped out with that a lot lately, but still, you have audio problems like I do. Stop sending audio to dev/null. That's right. That is exactly where I was sending it. If we look under the code, that is exactly where my audio was piped for a little bit. So I appreciate it. Proof that the stream is really live. All right, let's see. Modest Tim, my Wave XLR stops doing outbound audio all the time. I have to reboot to fix it. Hey, mine does too. I don't know if you're on a Mac or Windows. I would assume since you're a developer, I'm thinking maybe Mac, but who knows? But yeah, mine does it all the time. I have to open and close it all the time. Sometimes I walk away from my computer. I come back 5 minutes later, no audio. So I have to unplug it, plug it back in, and then if I don't get a pink screen, I get my audio back. The pink screen for Mac, the crazy pink screen, is a blue screen of death for Windows. Except for on a pink screen, you get no information, and you usually get like this crazy feedback. So Mac OS has the pink screen of death, which is less helpful because there's nothing going on. There's no codes for you to even look at. Anyways, good day. Hey, Tim, can you shed some light on the TrueNAS network backbone? Are you still using 10 gig Ethernet? Also, what about your backups? Where do you offload these? Yeah, great questions. Good day. So I am using 10 gigabit. I am using. Let me start. So in my TrueNAS system, that's bare metal now, the HL15. I have a dual SFP Plus card in there. That dual SFP Plus, I run dual DAC. Hey, real quick, dude, PC Geek, how's it going? DNS, 41 months. Let's go, PC Geek. How's it going? 41 months. That is too much math to do right now. It's under 3 years, almost 4. Dude, thank you so much. How's it going, PC Geek? Thanks for all your help. I appreciate it. Thanks for the resub too. But going back to your question, 2 SFP Plus, a card with dual SFP Plus in my TrueNAS system, bare metal. I use DAC, and then that goes to my Switch Aggregation Pro that I bought used from YWS, from Yocto. And then 2 of those go in there. I bond them with lag. So I essentially, yes, 10 gigabit Ethernet. 10 gigabit, I guess. But yeah. And then what about my backups? Where do you offload these? This gets a little bit complicated because I don't have a 3-2-1 right now. That was part of my point. Dude, thank you. Dude, book. Exactly. Dude, book. Dude, book. Dude, thank you. A lot of dudes coming out. As soon as dudes and mans get come out together, that's when you know we're having fun. Dude, book. Throws me off because there's a dude in your name and I want to say dude. Thanks so much. I appreciate the support. Thanks for the sub. Dude, book. Dude, thanks. But going back to this, Backups. I don't have 321 at home. I used to have 321 at home, but this always gets confusing for me, but my third copy, or my second copy, whatever, one of the 3 copies, was actually on my PC conversion, but I gave that away to someone here in the Twin Cities, and so I no longer have that as a target to back up my files to. So I don't have 321. 3 copies, 2 mediums, 1 off-site. I have the 1 off-site because I do not a block level, which I want to get to. I do a file level backup to the cloud. So I use Backblaze. And so I have file level backups to the cloud. In a DR scenario, that's going to stink, trying to restore, even restoring, each project I do for YouTube is about anywhere from 50 to 60 gigs. You can see how that could be a problem. If my drives crashed today, I would have to get something back into place. Then I have to restore 60 gigs over the internet to start working on, a video if it was mid-video. So that kind of stinks. But I do file level backup to Backblaze, which is super nice. And then I don't have block level backup. And that's where I want to get yet another system. I would love for it to be another TrueNAS system so I can do replication and replicate my snapshots to another system. And then that would almost be like a cold standby. So if something went wrong, I'd do some DNS magic, and I would use that for my NAS. That's a perfect world scenario. That's borderline, small business where I need that kind of continuity. Right now, it's kind of cost prohibitive because I need to duplicate the exact setup I have right now. Small business, that continuity might be worth it. 10 business, not worth it right now because, because I'm not making that much money. But so at some point, that scale might tip, right? That scale might tip to where I feel like the continuity, having that business continuity, just in case something goes wrong, is worth it. And when that will probably tip? When something goes wrong. Because most people, at least me, I don't fix things until they're broken. And so this process has been working for me fine, and that's why I'm able to get by with it. But I feel like once this breaks, I'm gonna hunker down and I'm gonna say, nope, I'm gonna build the same exact system. I'm gonna do my ZFS replication. Then my second TrueNAS server becomes a cold spare, basically, and I'll just replicate that data nightly, and I'll keep it off during the day. So anyways, that's a great question. It's a great question because I do kind of gloss over that point. But don't have 321. I have, 221. And 1 in the cloud. The 1 in the cloud is not block level; it's file level. So it gives me some flexibility still, right? Because it is file level. But no, great question. Thank you, dude. Cyber Rat, dude. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Cyber Rat. Appreciate it. Welcome. Woody, hey Tim, I'm working on setting up a K3S cluster with external Datastore, and after I changed the Datastore to my external SSD, after a restart of the MySQL server is complaining about permissions denied. Yes, update all the permissions for the user. I get crazy, tired. I get crazy. Tried everything I have knowledge of. Wish me luck. Yeah, good luck. So you changed. Wait, let me see. So I'm working on setting up K3S with external Datastore. All right, so MySQL, or SQL. Yeah, MySQL over the network. I changed the data dirt to my external SSD after a restart of MySQL. Oh, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I get it. Dude, thank you. Tetsujin, hey, thank you. Those are Roman numerals, but I'm not great at Roman numerals. I can't even tell you what Super Bowl number it is because they're Roman numerals. Dude, thank you so much. Tetsujin, thanks for the sub. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Dude, High Train, thank you. But going back to this really quick, that's tough. For me personally, if I was going to make a major change like that, I would probably re-bootstrap my cluster. I know that doesn't sound appealing. But that's kind of a big change, and the reason why you're probably getting those permission issues is because it's trying to move that database somewhere else. Maybe you manually moved it there. I assume. I'm not sure. I've never done it before. I do wish you luck. I would just say look at the permissions on the folder from where it currently lives and try to duplicate those permissions in the new place, and then hopefully it works. But man, you are definitely going down the path. that I haven't been. Bill Mayer, zero Celsius is freezing. I know. I totally get it. Metric is a thing. But hey, and I'm sure you know that 32, Fahrenheit is the freezing point. But yeah, I totally get it. Zero it makes more sense for me, metric, even though I'm terrible at the conversion. Yeah, Earth-based measurements. Why not? But for some reason, we still use Imperial because it'll probably cost us trillions of dollars to switch over, if not more. Xavier D, up all night gaming. Yeah, just woke up, yawn. Where's my coffee? Coffee, I like it. Coffee. Morning. Good to see you, Xavier D. Good to see you, dude. What were you playing? You're probably playing Call of Duty. I'm betting Call of Duty. I totally am betting Call of Duty. Let's see. MPCSH. I want to pronounce that one, but I'll go with MP. Hey, Tim, I'm rarely able to make the stream, so I'm stoked to be here. Thank you. I'm setting up a new HomeLab based on a repurposed Ryzen gaming rig. Awesome. Starting out with a Home Assistant and WireGuard VPN plus DDS, Dynamic DNS, trying to use NixOS as my hypervisor, which has been interesting. Also discovered that this super nifty ASRock PCIe IPKVM card that doesn't require a GPU. Let me see. So the ASRock. All right. ASRock PCIe IPKVM card that doesn't require a GPU. So that is awesome. So you have a Ryzen system you're building as your old, so you're using your old gaming system for your HomeLab. One of the best ways to get an upgrade to your gaming system and get a HomeLab at the same time is definitely the way to go, which is what you did. Pretty awesome. And then it was a Ryzen gaming rig, so I assume that Ryzen CPU didn't have the APU on it, because why get it if you're not going to use it, because you had a physical GPU. And so you're using that, using NixOS, which I haven't used before. So yeah, I agree, that's going to be interesting. But then you discovered that, hey, you can get this ASRock PCIe card that does IPKVM or IPMI over the network, and you don't need a GPU. That is pretty awesome. I'd love to see that thing too, because that would be super handy for the systems I have that do have a GPU, like older motherboards that I'll never use, where PiKVM doesn't always work the greatest. I got it working pretty good, but there's still some systems that are kind of borderline. Dude. Mayrink, hey, howdy doodly. Thanks for the tip to do the pull request, pushing me learning Git. Yeah, which I have to do for my work. Hey, no problem at all. Thanks for the pull request on the fix. Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the tier 1, 25 months, 1 year, 1 month. Let's go. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm always when people point out like things to correct on GitHub, I don't know if I'm happy to do it at any point in time. It'd take me 10 seconds. And I didn't mean to say like, hey, if you want to do it, here it is. But sometimes some people are, kind of get, they want credit for their commits on Git. So it makes their Git profile look good and their Git, activity goes up. So I was like, hey, if you want to do it, here it is. Otherwise, I can do it. So I'm glad you did it. Awesome to learn Git. I know it's tough. I use the CLI, 100% CLI on Git, super comfortable. I personally feel like once you learn it that way, it doesn't matter what tool you use in the future. If you use VS Code, if you still use Eclipse, use Notepad, whatever, doing it in the CLI, I think, is a good way to do it, because you learn just how Git from the CLI works. And for me, that's how I learned, and I still like to do it. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, thank you for the pull requests on the documentation. Absolutely. Anytime you find an error in documentation, I love pull requests on my documentation. I love it. Because I have, hundreds of thousands of eyeballs proofread my stuff. It doesn't get any better than that. So awesome. I think I just saw another sub, but it's not appearing in my list. Maybe my alerts are delayed. So I do apologize. Let me look. So yeah, it's my other alerts are delayed. Dude, Retho, dude, gifted tier 1 sub. Dude, thank you so much. Gifted tier 1 sub. Dude, thank you so much. For some reason, gifted ones don't show up on my other screen. Don't know why. I don't think I'm filtering them out. But anyways, dude, thank you for gifting the tier 1 sub. I think it went to Epic Fuzzball. Enjoy your gifted sub from Retho, 1976. I appreciate it. But MP, dude, this all sounds awesome. I'd love to see this ASRock PCIe IPKVM card. I'd love to see it. Love to see it. You should post it in Discord. But congratulations. I think having a home lab and just tinkering with all kinds of technology is a super rewarding experience. Kind of is a black hole for time and sometimes a money pit. But if you can repurpose your stuff like you're doing, it's zero cost of money outside of the card you bought. But that's a small price to pay to have a playground to build and learn stuff in. So. Benkos, I'm just currently trying to sort out my desk setup a bit to make it more usable at the moment. Heck yeah. Hey, I'm on board with that. I am totally on board with that. I'm a strong believer in that, like having, a workspace that works for you, feels clean and feels organized is super helpful. My desk right now, although not super clean and not organized, everything's in its place and I don't have too much on it. So I did a huge desk revamp with a big monitor here, and just kind of tidied some stuff up. And once you get your workspace right, or even your workbench right, I mean, it is so great. Speaking of workbench, someone in Discord recommended this wireless keyboard. It is so awesome, hands down the best keyboard for a workbench ever. So wireless keyboard and touchpad combined in one. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'm not going to go off on tangents. I think I think investing some time into organizing goes a long way, because then it just, like me, I was just telling my wife this morning, hey, I think we should get another shelf for the basement for organizing stuff, because I have these boxes that in my head, every time I look at them, it just stresses me out. Like I need to put these boxes somewhere, but I can't just stack them on other things. And so that's what we're going to do tonight, is go get another wire shelf to put those things there. And why do I mention that? It's just like your desk. If you have a place for things, at least for me, I feel much more at ease. When things get super messy, that's when I get kind of stressed. And that's what this side of the room is right now from everything I'm doing. So anyways, I'm perfectly fine to work on it. It is awesome. It is awesome. Dude, these are rolling in. Dude, Cyber Night. I don't know why my gifted subs aren't appearing. Hey, let's get some strobing going on while I read this. Dude, Cyber Night, thank you so much. Gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Dude, thank you so much. So Brian's Tech Stuff, Newlist76, Wesselben, Cyber Night, to Gilio, and Git Day. Enjoy your gifted sub from Cyber Night. Appreciate it. And if you're in Discord, make sure you connect your Discord account to Twitch, because then you'll get a shiny badge and some other things. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was a pretty poor flash. I think this one's a little bit better. There we go. That's the one we need to see. Dude, thank you so much, Cyber Night. I appreciate it. Xavier's D, -40C, and yeah, that is right. That is where they meet. Anyone who lives in the cold regions in the U.S. knows where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet. That is exactly right. They meet. Finally, we're on the same page if we get down to -40. We can get there on wind chill sometimes. We can get there. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Sigor, how's it going? Bill Mayer, do you all hear that people are working on bringing wine to games on Android? Mind blown. Yeah, I have heard that. I heard that like wine is getting like better and better. It was funny. It's like this technology I heard of and some people used like in the early 2000s. And then for me, it just kind of like I didn't hear much about it. But it seems like they're making really good strides on it lately. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Retro Daredevil, I like this. Retro Daredevil, I'm going to switch off using transmission as my torrent client, looking into Qubit torrent versus Deluge. Any insight there? I don't, personally. I don't, I can't tell you what's the best torrent client to download your Linux ISOs. I mean, I assume they're mostly the same. And at the end of the day, you're going to get Linux ISOs. So, yeah. I wish I had some insight, but I don't. I'm sure lots of people do. Elsewhere, and maybe on Discord. But I think most clients to download Linux ISOs are the same. I'm not sure. I need to get back into downloading Linux ISOs and hosting them too, because sharing is caring. Anyways, good day. Great TrueNAS video. Thank you. By the way, interesting how you use mirrored VDEVs. You can upgrade capacity in pairs rather than 6 disks at a time. Yeah, thank you. Something I totally glossed over as soon as I watched it and released it was right away. Like, I didn't even explain that, like, your data's striped across those mirrors too. I mean, for anyone who knows, it's kind of like, yeah, they just assumed. And I was in that camp too. I was just like, Yeah, like I don't need to mention that. But for the uninformed, yeah, I use mirrored VDEVs. Absolutely. I switched over a while ago. It's great because you can expand those by 2, by 2, by 2. Every time I need to buy them, I just buy 2 more. And of course, maybe you didn't know, but your data's striped across that. So if you have a stripe of 16, and you add 2 more 8 terabyte disks, when you expand, it'll then be 24, right? So anyways, yeah, it is super cool. And there's crazy stuff you could do too. If you want more mirrors per pair, you could have 3 disks in a mirror. But once you start doing that, there's probably better ways to do it too. Because with VDEVs, you could have you could stripe almost. Yeah, there are lots of ways to do it. Tom Lawrence was helping me out on like how would I properly use 15 disks, and he was giving me some feedback on that. So anyways, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm a fan. It lets me expand for cheap. Something else someone told me too, that it was kind of like a light bulb moment too, is that you could, if you had time and you had a budget, you could expand those 6 over time too, right? You just replace 1 with a bigger disk. You waste some data space until you replace them all, and then on a budget, you replace all 6 until eventually on the 6th one, then you unlock all that extra space. So if you're planning ahead of time, which is not me, mine's like, hey, I'm going to run out of space. I need to do it soon. But if you plan ahead of time and you're still using RAID Z2, you could budget that and do that over time, waste the space in the meantime. But then when you put in the 6 disks, then you would unlock all that space. So yeah, that was something else I didn't think about. I'm not that planful though. I'm not that planful, but someone brought that up in Discord. I was like, yeah, that is actually great. Me, on my last one, I waited until I was like 89, 90%, which is not great for ZFS in general. But yeah, it's such a deep topic on ZFS, and I felt like half the time I was in over my head, and I'm, like I said in the beginning, I'll be the first to admit I probably got some diagrams wrong, but there was a point where I was like, I can read more about this, I can keep pinging people about this, or I can just get this out in the world. And so, not perfect, but it was my best shot. Net Tech Zach, I like it. Net Tech Zach. Hey Tim, I'm really curious to know your opinion about the Vision Pro, and I hope you're doing great. Hey, I am doing great. Vision Pro. Yeah, I haven't had experience with one, right? And so I'm in the same boat as you. I've seen reviews of it. I've seen the pros and cons. I've seen people who love Apple, talk about it. I've seen people who don't like Apple talk about it. I see some people who are kind of indifferent talk about it. I do see a lot of interesting use cases, and I will say, if you want to see, I think, a pretty good review of this device, go watch Marques Brownlee, his MKB HD, Marques Brownlee. He has a great review. He has one on kind of setting it up and day-to-day, and then one in actually review of using it. In the end, he tells you don't buy it, which I thought was pretty bold, considering his relationship with Apple and stuff. But and his don't buy it wasn't because it's not great. It's just, it's kind of ahead of its time. You have that whenever you have kind of groundbreaking technologies. There's so many interesting things about it, like eye tracking to look at stuff. Like he emphasizes that a lot. Is like, it's going to take a lot of brain power in the beginning. I actually had a dream about this the other day that I was using one. But the way you select things is you look at them and then you pinch them in the air. So for instance, if I wanted to, move this thing, I would have to physically look at it and then pinch and then move it, And so it's doing that all the time. So if you want to launch an app, you need to look at the thing, whereas, on a PC with, human input devices, I can click on this thing, I can look somewhere else, I can look over here while I'm doing stuff. Probably not the most, accurate or efficient thing to do, but I can do that. Apple Vision Pro, you can't. You need to look at the thing you're doing to activate it or select it or do anything else. Anyways, that being said, I think there's some super awesome, interesting use cases for it, especially when a lot of the things are kind of like they're not even demos, right? They're all of these like visions of how people can use it. But if you saw the example of the F1 racing track, or any racetrack, I guess, doesn't matter the type of vehicle, But if you're watching racing, right, in sports, and you typically see what the commentator and what the film crew is showing you, but to be able to have like augmented reality of the whole racetrack right here, on your coffee table, that's giving us some additional data, and see each cars on every turn, I think hands down is like this is the future I want, right? Are we there? No. Is that just a flashy demo? Yes. So I think it's the idea, the vision, I guess you should say, no pun intended, is ahead of its time. And the hardware hasn't even 100% caught up yet to it, right? To the vision I think that Apple has with it. But it's leaps and bounds beyond what current things are doing, right? Especially with their augmented reality and how when you're looking at it, it's really a replay of what you're seeing. You're not seeing through the thing. And that kind of blows my mind that you could still, like Casey, he's go skating, or, Marquez Brownlee is playing ping pong with one on. And the fact that sensor can capture that and replay it to your head fast enough is just mind-blowing. So anyways, I'm super interested. And if someone just gave me one, I'd be all for it. But it's hard for me to invest that amount of money into something like that. And I think this is the whole chicken and the egg thing. If anyone can break the whole chicken and the egg, and when I say chicken and the egg, it's hey, we have this new platform, we needed to get developers on it, but people won't come to the platform unless we have apps on it. That whole chicken and the egg. Many have tried it. Microsoft tried it with phones. Microsoft tried it with tablets. Arguably, didn't work. And so if anyone can do this whole chicken and the egg thing, it's going to be Amazon, Apple, or Google, right? To where they build a platform, or they build hardware, or they build technology that's so interesting and so compelling that it doesn't require the ecosystem to be fully there yet. And many have tried, but I honestly think, it's an Apple, Google, Amazon. They're one of the few that can do that now. It's pretty awesome. Anyways, super interesting topic. I've never said out loud what I thought about it, but that's exactly what I think about it. I think there's a bright future for something like this. I would hate to in 10 years to say, hey, look at the Vision Pro, remember that thing, and have it turn up like the Zune. The Zune is now the butt of all jokes for music players, even though it's pretty awesome. I hope the Vision Pro does not go that way. I hope it helps us move into the future with a new way of doing and interacting with things. Because I don't know, when I see people using it and I see it, it looks ridiculous from the outside, right? It looks ridiculous from the outside looking in, or from the inside looking out. I think it looks pretty awesome. So, anyways, it's interesting. I'd love to play with one at some point. But I'm gonna be honest, that price tag, that's not a toy for me that I could play with. So yeah, it's a good question. I mean, your opinion is gonna be as good as mine, right? I would say watch the reviews, look at it. We have people in Discord who actually own one too, or multiple. So it's pretty awesome. You might be able to get some firsthand experience and answer some questions, or get some question answers from people in there. I think it's awesome. That's kind of the future I want to live in. Do I want it to be goggles? No. Would it be awesome if it were just my glasses? Heck yeah. But how do we get to something like just glasses? They got to be goggles first, because the tech needs to catch up. So anyways, it's fun. It's fun. This is kind of like our hoverboard, except for maybe we actually might get a real hoverboard and it really hovers and it's not wheels. Kind of for me, it is. It's my hoverboard. And this time we might actually get it. So yeah, good question. It's fun to think about those kind of things. But yeah, Steel Phoenix, getting Ansible set up with GitHub repos and Proxmox VM builds. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'd love to see it. If it's open source, ping me on it. I would love to see it. I feel like I build VMs enough, for testing, to where I need to do it with Ansible, or I need to do it with Terraform soon. Like I was saying, Jim's Garage, he's got a great video on Terraform and Ansible, and I think that's the route I'm going to do. I've been doing some more Ansible at work, or Terraform at work, and although Ansible and Terraform handle state vastly differently, I think I'm starting to like the Terraform way. For some things, right? For some things. Dude Book, glad to be here and that you make the content you do. Really helped me get started with saving my old workstation. Hey, exactly what we're talking about. And your Discord community has been super helpful too. Much love and many thanks, y'all. Hey, Dude Book, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the sub earlier. I agree. Discord community is hands down like the best one around. Like people are so knowledgeable and so kind. I got super lucky. I got super lucky on that one too. And yeah, what a great way to recycle, upcycle, I don't know, side cycle your old workstation is to build a server from it and learn some new technology for sure. For sure. Speaking of, Benkos, I need to build a server at some point, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, speaking of, you hear all these people, it's definitely fun to learn. Just having a second machine where you can tinker and not worry about breaking something is awesome. You know, it is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great to have an all-in-one and have maybe dual boot so you can boot to Linux, you can boot to Windows and whatever you want to do, or even virtual machines on your own machine too will definitely help. But there's nothing like just having a physical machine where it's like, you know what, if I want to take the hard drives out or I want to test some new hardware or I want to wipe this thing and then run something on it just to play with it, it is super fun to have that separate environment. So you're not always taking down, you know, your home production, which is probably your workstation right here. So it's fun. It's fun. Bill Mayer, TrueNAS Scale, the only A tier for radar. Yeah, they perfectly hit the S tier for Proxmox too. I saw that on Instagram. I need to look at that breakdown. I saw his post this morning on Instagram, and I hearted it for sure. But I need to see that list. I don't know if he did a video on it, which I'm embarrassed to say, but man, it's hard to keep up with other people. But I saw his post on Instagram. I liked it. Merciless Demise. Evening from the UK. Just doing some VLAN segregation at home. Awesome. Out of interest, where does your Home Assistant sit? Yeah, is it on your IoT VLAN? If so, do you have a reverse proxy on the VLAN or do you proxy through it from an untrusted DMZ VLAN? Yeah, good question. I talked about this a little bit in my services tour that I just did. It's super confusing, but that is one of the few things. So I'm going to talk about this complicated, and then I'm going to talk about it very simple. I run Home Assistant, I run it containerized, and I run it in Kubernetes. All that aside, what I do is I have a Kubernetes node. Just think I have a server. I'll just break it down in containers, and I'll just talk about it like it's Docker. How about that? It might be easier. I have a Docker server, even though it's not really, on an IoT VLAN. That is there to communicate with other IoT devices. The reason why I chose that route is because it was much easier for me to put that server there to communicate with all of those devices and the whole ecosystem of devices with Home Assistant than it is to put it somewhere trusted and then build a whole bunch of firewall rules for it, right? I mean, if you think about it, you know, I have 50, 60, I think, IoT devices. Think about all those firewall rules I would have to create, right? And so I had to decide: do I simplify the architecture so I don't have to make the networking confusing, or do I make the architecture, you know, the way I want it in a perfect world where I'd put my Home Assistant server on my trusted VLAN and then make the networking rules super confusing? And I just figured it's more likely that I'm going to mess up a firewall rule doing all that than me just putting it on there. And so that device is hardened. You know, it's hardened. You know, it has SSH keys, doesn't allow passwords, the whole 9 yards. And so I do sit it on my IoT VLAN, and it is there. And then for me, I yes, you'll have to put a reverse proxy in front of it if you want. If it is a Docker machine, you could put it on that same one so you could serve it out securely. But I have a reverse proxy in my cluster that all of my nodes use. So I come in through the reverse proxy that gets routed to that machine. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But that's the way I went. I hope that helps. HA is solidly on the IoT VLAN. All right. Confirmation biased. Confirmation bias. No, I agree. Like I said, do I want to complicate the networking, or do I want to be very strict on my VLANs and how I have them architected? And I think, like, if you have a valid use case to go outside the rules like I did, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Me personally, it's the risk factor, right? Do I think there's more risk in configuring 50 firewalls for all of my IoT devices to get them onto a secure, hardened, trusted VLAN? I think there's more risk doing that than there is just me putting my Home Assistant server on the IoT VLAN. Because at the end of the day, if they hack that thing, it'd suck. It'd suck. But at the same time, I'll shut that thing down quicker than you know what. So, but yeah, it's a good question. Good question for sure. Like the why I do stuff. So yeah, anytime you want to pick my brain on why, I'd love to tell you. Might not make sense, but hello again time. Yeah, it is hello again time, and it's internet talk time. I hope you use something like Ansible to deliver. Oh yeah. Adus Sardi. Anybody has production level S3 in HomeLab? If yes, what kind of hardware do you use? Using how many nodes? Asking because MinIO recommends 4 nodes, 4 disks each. Yeah, it's a good question. So is anyone using the production version of MinIO, which is object storage like S3? And the production version of MinIO is when you cluster and replicate, right? When you cluster and replicate your object storage. Personally, I'm not. Mine's a single node on top of TrueNAS. I chose to put it there because that's where all of my other data services are. So it makes it really easy in my head to say, hey, block storage is here, NFS storage is here. Block storage. My NFS shares are here on top of block, obviously. Same with SMB. And for object storage, for me, it's really easy to separate. I have not expanded to make mine HA. I've thought about it, but I haven't done it. So personally, I haven't. You should totally ask in the storage channel if to see if anyone else has. I'm interested to know too, because I would like to. Like I have HA databases, with multiple replicas. So if one goes down, it's the service stays up, and it'd be really awesome to have that as well with MinIO, with object storage. But if my NAS is down, I'm in a lot of hurt too. So yeah, it would be nice to offload that to somewhere else. I'm gonna go with Gail Lolo. That's what I'm Gail Lolo. That's what I'm going with. Hi Tim and guys, thanks so much for your YouTube content. Helped a lot getting started with HomeLab running. I whip though. Thanks. I think you're still work in progress. I assume. Whip is always what I use for my Git commit, so I assume that means you're still a work in progress. Hey, I'm still a work in progress. My HomeLab's still a work in progress. If I'm done with my HomeLab, I'm going to be real bored, right? I think a lot of people will. And so you're never done, right? You might see a video, or you might get an idea from a friend, or you get a crazy idea from somewhere else, or you learn about a new service or a new way of doing stuff, or GlusterFS goes away. You name it. There's a lot of reasons to still tinker. So, and it'll always be a work in progress. I feel like mine's getting close to like, I need to shake mine up some more because I've totally optimized a lot of stuff to where there's less to tinker on. But hey, that's what those are for, and that's why I'm building my private cloud. So now I have two labs to worry about, as if I need more. Valkyrie. I have plans to move everything to Ansible deployments eventually, but NAS project is my priority right now. Yeah, for sure. And that was directed at Bill Mayer. But yeah, it's fun. I think getting your NAS in a good state, if you're going to use a NAS and you're going to build one, doesn't matter if you buy or build, but I think getting that in a good state to where you're getting the IOPS and throughput and everything you want, and testing that and validating that. I think once you get that, everything else will be solid. I think that's for me, that was kind of important. I put that off for a long time. I knew for a long time I wasn't getting any use out of my 10 gig network. Then I decided to test it, and that's how I went down this whole deep dark hole of getting TrueNAS to perform the way that I wanted to. Nothing against TrueNAS, it's just the way it is. Adusardi. Kaiser Sose, doesn't NGINX folks have some kind of dashboard of their own, which is now open source? NGINX Proxy Manager had some security issues last I heard of it. There have been CVEs, I think, in NGINX Proxy Manager. So let's separate it. Like, actually, NGINX is a standalone product, right? It's a proxy, reverse proxy, a load balancer, by NGINX. And then there's NGINX reverse proxy, which is not affiliated with NGINX. It's just a reverse proxy that happens to use NGINX. And so yeah, there have been security issues in the past, maybe CVEs that either have or have not been addressed. But I think you're going to find that with a lot of code and a lot of software. One, I will say, I wouldn't treat a CVE like, how do I say this? Like, there are some pieces of code or services out there that have CVEs that aren't detected, right? Just like no one cares about the security on the thing. And that's just like being oblivious to it. And it's not the maintainer's fault. It's just like they don't know, right? They don't run security standards. They don't have someone to tell them that the CVE exists, right? They don't have SecOps in place or anything like that to automatically detect that kind of thing. So that happens. So I don't always see like a product having a detected CVE is a bad thing. It means that somebody's identified it, and it's how they react that will tell you how good the product is, right? If they prioritize that CVE and fix it, it's usually the sign of a healthy project, right? If they detect the CVE and they're not going to fix it, unless they have a really good reason not to and have identified it, then that's a sign of, a project that probably needs some help. So anyways, if a project has a CVE, it happens all the time, and it's detected and logged and hopefully patched by the time they talk about it. That's another rule too. Is like, hey, unless you got a patch or something, you should probably not talk about it. I guess if you identify it. Anyways, long story short, yes, I think a lot of projects had security vulnerabilities in the past, some 0 days, some less likely. And a lot of it, I will say too, I'll just throw this out there too. Some CVEs, although detected, may not even apply to you too, right? So a lot of the things are for public web type stuff. Hey, if you have this exposed in the public web, it's a vulnerability and somebody can do this thing that's going to give them God mode on this machine. That's how it all ends, right? That's how it all ends. If this hacker just is one thing, they have all your data. It's like anytime you Google, do I have cancer? Or I have this pain. And it always ends in cancer. I think the CVE thing is kind of the same way, where it's like they're going to tell you the worst case scenario about everything that could happen. But a lot of times, like if it's an internal thing, not that it's not important, it's just less likely to happen, if it's not on the edge. So anyways, that's my spiel on CVE and securities. Going back to your original question, though, NGINX Project Manager should be fine. It should be fine. I haven't looked in a long time, though, because I use Traffic, and then there are other things to use, too. So, which I'm sure Traffic's had plenty of CVEs, but they patched in time. So anyways, let's see. Sternbear got a full Dell 24U rack of 2 UDM Pros, 2 use 24 ports, 1 uses 48 ports, 1 aggregation switch, 1 Netgear ReadyNAS, and 4 10 terabyte Dell 8 R820 with 16 750 gig SSD drives, a Dell R720 with an 8 1 terabyte SSD drives. All this is weird and really, all this is wired, and ready to plug and go. All this for 200. Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. I thought I was going to get something good at the end, and then you're just trying to sell your stuff. I get it. You should probably post in HomeLab sales. That price sounds pretty good, so you should probably post in HomeLab sales. Oh, man, I read all of that, only to realize it was an ad for you selling it. Come on now. Sounds like a good price. I'm sure it'll go really fast in HomeLab sales. So, and I would definitely, if you're even considering buying that, I would tell them to post it there too, so they get certified and verified. So anyways, G-Man, I like it. G-Man, hey, thanks for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. G-Man 1980, good year, 1980. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Man, I read all of that, and it ended up being you selling gear. Yeah, but that's my disclaimer. It sounds like a great deal. Most things that sound like a great deal, there's always something behind the scenes, so make sure you buy it from a valid source, and I would tell them, whoever that person was, to probably post it on HomeLab sales so they can get verified before they do it. ZFS3 in my... Oh, sorry. Valkyrie. Tim, looks like it was just a bad image Portainer push with force recreate wasn't pulling, so the image... Oh, yeah. Force recreate wasn't pulling. Fix the image properly. Hey, that is good news. Yeah. So yeah, that is awesome. I'm trying to think how you could have avoided that. That's hard to avoid. But I'm sure you ended up either like looking in their GitHub or looking for a newer image or even possibly looking at the Docker logs. I'm trying to think like how could we prevent this in the future or know that this was a problem in the future. Docker logs probably gave something away, although probably less likely to be helpful. It probably was like, hey, can't find the database, or the database is not there anymore, or it's trying to do a select from something that doesn't exist. So that might not be helpful. It still might have pointed you down the path of where the database was gone or corrupted. So yeah, but good find. Crackhead, yeah, it's almost like 2 years. Oh yeah, code infrastructure is the way to go. Bill Mayer is the way to go. Ansible is what I choose to use. I won't recover a DB, but it will make it repeatable. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I will say though that I use Cloud Native PG. It's a Postgres operator for Kubernetes, and I can recover data using GitOps. It's pretty awesome because it can automatically restore your database from the streaming WAL files, the log files that stream to MinIO or S3. This is getting complicated. But it's always streaming these log files, the transaction files, to basically replay something if something goes wrong. So if I take my whole database down or it gets corrupted, I just, increment the version. Corrupt is probably, that's a little bit tougher, but let's just say, hey, I need to restore my database, or the service is not working, something's going weird. I just increment the version on the database server, and it'll do it all. It'll restore it all from S3 for me. I'm going to say S3, but I'm using MinIO. It's just easier to say, but it's pretty awesome. But I totally agree. Infrastructure as code is so awesome. So awesome once you start using it. The bot sends notification to Discord when the creator, gotcha, live or streams. Gotcha. Yeah, this is awesome. Awesome. It's for a personal project called Fresh Talk, not Social Blade. Got it. So this is TikTok notification. So when you track a creator, they're doing something, they do some kind of action like go live or post a new video, you get notified. That is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I should hook into. I want to hook into that so I can notify people of my seldom TikToks. And here I was asking about something that might be new. How much do Colos cost these days? Yeah, Lord Harlock. It ranges. It definitely ranges. It ranges. I'm moving into one that a group of people are sharing. That then divide up the cost with a little bit of money on top to get, I think, to be somewhat profitable. But they're doing some other things too. It depends. It depends on where you're going. I wish I had a number. I did research a fair amount of them. This local group was like, hey, we got some extra space. If you want to, want for you, it's all yours. So, I got a good deal on this one. Because they have extra space and they're like, sure, man, let's do this. And I think they want to test out some of their infrastructure and stuff too. And I think they're thinking about going bigger. So I think they're going to treat me like maybe a customer or first customer. I don't know. Anyways, long story short, it varies. And a lot of places won't tell you their price unless you talk to someone in sales. So it's tough. I mean, some local places were charging, I don't know, $700 a month. Depends on power, depends on how many. Some people have a minimum on how many you get. Some people divide U's up into, you could, the minimum is 8 U. Sometimes it's all over the place. So if you can find a smaller group, I think the best way to go, if you're serious about doing it, is find a group of friends local that want to do the same thing and just divide the cost by the amount of people. That is definitely the best deal you're going to get, because it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people to do it, because who are their customers? It's enterprise customers, right? So it's usually cost prohibitive for an individual, unless you find a group of friends that are doing it, who have some extra space, or if you find someone, even one person who's doing it and wants to pay less than what they're paying now, and then you say, okay, well, divide the rack up into whatever, divide the cost into U's, and you got however many U's, and then divide that as the cost and just say, hey, I'll pay pay this much. But I think it's best to tack on to someone who's already doing it than to go alone, because if you go alone, it's dangerous out there. And those companies are usually going after enterprise people, for sure. I should say small to medium businesses seems to be their bread and butter. Because when I was looking, they were like, yeah, we host the radio station stuff in here and we do all this other stuff. I was like, wow, this is like a whole new world. Got any HomeLabbers in there? And he's like, what? So yeah, that's my recommendation. You could do the research yourself. And if you're serious about doing it, I would find a group of friends to do it and divide that cost for sure. For sure. Or Yocto, yeah, YWS. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I like it. Or Yocto, YWS. I don't know what YWS's prices are like, but I think I know the guy who runs it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. YWS, Yocto with the save. So Post was really early to the stream, so here it goes again. Dad joke. I know when 25 letters in the alphabet. Don't know why. Wait, I know 25 letters. Oh, I don't know why. I get it. Dude book, any good resources for Linux learning? I learned the best with hands-on classroom settings and materials. So I got a Humble bundle for Pact, but there is no start here, then do the class, then do this class, etc. If anyone has any info, I'd be appreciative of it. A list of what order to do in the classes and or resources that fit the need. Thanks. The bundle is still live for reference. Hey, good call. This one's tough for me. Because the way I learned Linux wasn't like I sat down and learned Linux. Mine was more ancillary. I don't know the word for it, but I learned Linux through doing other things. One of them was building containers, because I had to go on a Linux machine to build containers or start containers, and then I'd run into issues. Where do I find the logs? Where do I do all this kind of stuff? So I totally agree. Like, if you want to hands down just learn Linux, there's probably some great resources out there. I don't know any at the top of my head. YouTube's where I go immediately, right? If you just want like a huge long course on Linux. But I like to learn things through things I'm also doing. So I kind of learn two things at once, at least for me. I think learning Docker, and even when I started doing software development, that was non-Microsoft software development, because I used to do .NET for a while. But while I switched over to more open source stuff, JavaScript, you name it, TypeScript, whatever, I started to learn more about Linux, because most of the time I was developing on a Mac, which is kind of Unix-like, BSD, and then also I was running things in CI, and so I'd have to troubleshoot things in CI that were running on Linux, and I had to spin up Docker machines local that ran on Linux. So it's up to you, but I like the 2-for-1 approach, where, hey, learn a technology, and oh, by the way, it runs on Linux, so you kind of pick up that skill at the same time too. Because for me, it's kind of hard to learn things in isolation, unless it's even code. I would say for me, it's kind of hard to learn in isolation, but to each his own. So, let's see, man, I went way over. But I owe it to you guys because I definitely had a rough start in the beginning. I am gonna try to find a new question. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad because you guys have written so many questions, and now I'm gonna just have to pick one, and now I feel super bad. I'm just gonna pick one. I see this one. Ethan Sky. I'm surprised you didn't mention. Oh, all right. I saw VDEV in the word, and I was like, just pick it, because I knew it was gonna be a question or statement. So yeah, good call. So I'm surprised you didn't mention the special VDEV to help with file lookup. I've got a 3-way mirror on some Intel Optanes that helps a ton when browsing thousands of smallish files and family photos. Yeah, Ethan Sky, this is great. This is totally an oversight on my part, and I consciously left it out. So it was an oversight, and if I could have a do-over, I would absolutely mention it. So for those who are uninformed like me, so in ZFS you have this special VDEV. It's called special VDEV, where it holds a lot of metadata about your files, how to look them up, where they are, where they're laid out, super special. I'll just say that. And so it's actually metadata about the files. And so you're right. So by default, it lives on your pool, right? So if that's spinning Rust, that's yet another activity that needs to do on spinning Rust. I think some can be in Arc at some point in time, but I think the bigger it gets, the more likely it's not going to be there anymore. So, and I think Wendell's talked about it too. And so the idea is like, hey, yet again, like instead of having your spinning Rust doing all of these things, you move it off into super fast drive so it can stay there and do those things really fast. And so, you know, I didn't mention it for a couple reasons. Maybe I'm probably making excuses because looking back, I should have at least mentioned it. Say I don't use it and here's why. So I don't use it and here's why. One, I get it. You have a use case for it, tons of family photos. I have some directories where it would help me out. Millions of files, I think, in some of my folders. So it would probably help me out. So it would definitely help me out. But I felt like it's such a critical function for me, or in general for ZFS, that I felt like a mirror. I think you have a 3-way mirror, which is awesome. But for me, I felt like a mirror isn't as redundant as the pool itself that it runs on. And so why is that important? Because if you lose that special VDEV, you lose all of your data. And so you have a 3-way mirror, which is way better than what I was contemplating doing, which was a mirror. And so I got scared. I'm going to be honest, I got scared because I was like, man, I have all of this redundancy built into my pool. And now I'm going to say, okay, well, you know, this special VDEV, I'm going to put on mirrors for me because I don't have enough drive space. I don't have enough places to plug this stuff in. Now that's going to be okay. And then if I lose that, I lose all my data. So it was a calculated risk that I didn't want to take personally. And trust me, if I have more slots for drives in my server, I would have done it. Although it would be expensive, right? I'd buy 3-4 more Optanes and I would make it super available and redundant. But I would have done it, but I ran out of slots for Optanes in that machine. So you're fortunate because that means you have a lot of space for a lot of PCI Express devices, so you can get those Optanes plugged in. But anyways, long story short, hardware is not important. What is important? Special VDEV, yes, it can speed your stuff up, especially when you have tons and tons of files in a directory, especially. That's going to help it out, or lots of directories with lots of files. The risk is that if you lose that, you lose all of your data. And so that was a calculated risk where I was like, I don't have enough space for it. I don't have the hardware for it. And I was kind of scared to put it on mirrors. So those are my excuses. And if I could have a do-over, I would have absolutely mentioned in that video to say, hey, I acknowledge this thing exists, and you should too, in this guide that's supposed to be about performance. And here are the upsides and downsides. And it was totally an oversight on my part. So good call though. Okay, first time chat. This is the last one. First time chatter. And it's about HomeLab. Last one now. Okay. I'm just starting my HomeLab. I have an old desktop PC. This is perfect. I have an old desktop PC I'm using as a server, but light mode. Light mode. Killing me. Oh, if I could, pretty soon. Anyways, this is Wake Up. This is the Energize and Hue language. This is the the theme that's called Energize. All right, there, I feel better. Anyways, let's get back to this. You can put it on light mode if you want. I don't mind. I'm just starting my HomeLab. I have an old desktop PC I'm using like a server, but I'd like to get it into my rack on my UDM Pro. For someone on a budget, would you recommend getting a server case or just finding a whole completed server? Hey, buy five giraffe, or busy giraffe. I like it. A little leet speak in there. I'm assuming it's busy giraffe. I like it. Hey, so good question. So you have an old desktop PC and you want to rack mount it, but you're debating the cost of buying a rack mounted PC case or just buying a whole server. This is a great question. I've been through this once before. My hair's all wild, but I don't care. I've been through this. This is tough. So I will say if that old desktop machine is relatively newer, has a relatively newer processor that supports VTX and VTD, so it supports virtualization and hardware pass-through, and can allocate a decent amount of RAM, 64 gigs or higher, and you have that RAM. And has a lot of PCI Express slots and probably has a CPU that can address those PCI Express slots, I think that then buying the case kind of buying a PC conversion case is kind of worth it, right? Because you have a good board that could be used as a server. I understand that like this is your first one, but I'm just trying to think like beyond that one. Like if you ever want to grow, like are you limiting yourself? So I would look at that machine and say, how am I limiting myself? You know, am I limited to 32 gigs of RAM? Am I limited to a few PCI Express slots? Am I limited to the processor, the either the amount of cores or threads? Most likely not, because any modern processor is going to be super fine for the workloads we're running. You know, or is it going to be how many PCI lanes can that processor address, right? Because if you want to add add-in cards later on, you might run out. If all of those questions are pretty good, yeah, good, decent, I would say do that because then you only need to buy a case. The only thing that goes in the landfill or goes to someone else is the old case, right? And you can upcycle it for yourself. So I like that route. I do acknowledge that PC conversion case are a little bit expensive. I mean, depending on what you're looking at, they could be the price of a used server. So, that's where I think you're going to have to do the math and just say, hey, is this old PC worth upcycling for yourself, or is it better to donate to someone else, or give to someone else and buy that server? I know a lot of people have a lot of recommendations on lower power, good rack mount servers that can be used. But I will say on the flip side, if you are going to a PC conversion case, not to make this even more confusing, you're going to have a lot more room for a lot more drives. Something that's kind of hard to do, on servers, unless you buy one that's specific for it. And I'm not talking about like 4 or 6. I'm talking about like, hey, in a PC conversion case, you depending on the one you get, you might be able to put 12 in there. But then again, that all depends on how many SATA ports you have, how many PCI Express lanes you have to put an HBA controller in. So, anyways, this is a great topic for a discussion in our hardware channel or even in our storage channel if you're going to use it for a storage server. A lot of people, this question kind of comes up a lot, like, hey, should I convert my current PC to a rack mount? What are the pros and cons? And how many drives am I going to be able to fit into it? This is great. This is great for Discord. I hope I answered it. This again is a Techno Tim non-answer. It's basically just trying to help you think more or talk about some of the either limitations or the pros and cons, upsides, downsides of what you're thinking about. So then you can make the decision, because I don't want to make the decision for you. There's probably a lot more things that I didn't consider, but hopefully this helps you think about, why it might be right or wrong for you. I encourage you to join Discord though, because a lot of people have a lot more perspective than I do. So anyways, wow, thank you guys all so much for joining. Thank you for joining on this Saturday. I did go way over, but hey, I'm having fun. I do apologize if I didn't get to your comment. I had to scroll through, I don't know, it looked like 15, 20. I do apologize. Sometimes I'm super long-winded like I am right now. If you have a question that you want answered, absolutely join our Discord. If it needs to be by me, ping me. If it can be by anyone in chat or in the community, just throw it out there and you'll get lots of opinions from folks who are very knowledgeable at this stuff, and you'll probably get a better answer and a more precise answer than one you get from me. So anyways, join Discord. It's !Discord, and you can find it anywhere. Just Google Techno Tim Discord. The first result on Google will probably be the invite from the partnered link. So I appreciate you coming out today. I had a ton of fun. I will be here next Saturday. Hopefully I'll have something out on YouTube for you soon, but I will definitely be back here next Saturday, and I'll try to be in Discord as much as I can for the rest of the day. So have a great weekend. Take care and be good. Also, thank you for the subs. The gifted subs, and the follows. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I totally blank out and I don't thank you for it. Even though I thank you right after it happened, I still want to say thank you again at the end. Always appreciated. Never, ever, ever required. Just being here in chat and posting something is more than enough for me, because then we get to talk about stuff and explore different ideas. So I appreciate it. Techie911, thanks for the follow. All right. Have a great Saturday. Take care and be good to each other. Take care, folks.